So, welcome, dear participants. We are into the session SE Talks, Social Entrepreneurship Talks. And as you know, previously we have actually talked about, there was a webinar session. Most of you would be from the same session. We have been expecting a lot of regular, repeated participants involved. So, we are from Balvikasa International Center, which is a sister organization, vertical of Balvikasa. So we are here today on Social Entrepreneurship Talk, and I welcome you, Ranjan Mistry, to this session, who is our speaker of the day, and Rahul Bharadwaj, who is moderator of this session. Welcome, Rahul. Welcome, Ranjan.
Thank you, Vijender.
So coming to the today's session. So it's we have conducted previously a series of so why social enterprises fail or succeed. So within that we have covered about 10 different general issues what social enterprise should be focused. And this session, this entire series would be focused on what kind of social entrepreneurs are already there, and like we are focused on bringing onboarded social entrepreneurs and the enabling factors, more of their journey during their social enterprise establishment, or like what they have been going through all these things. Like majorly it is an open-ended one, where we learn from social entrepreneur through their journey. They will be sharing their experiences while we learn. And like we do have and like similar to previous sessions and all, we do have a moderator will take care of all the questions and generic questions. And then we will be open in the last 10 to 15 minutes for your questions. You can post it in the chat box, or like give you an option to unmute yourself, and then you can post your questions. So just before getting into our session, I just quickly wanted to say about my organization, our organization, Balvikasa. So Balvikasa is like 43-year-old organization which is working with one simple philosophy, where we believe that helping communities to help themselves is the philosophy, and where we have three verticals working. First, we had community-driven development initiative, and which is the largest vertical of our outreach. And we have around more than 100 team there working in different programs like clean water supply villages, rural areas, and water conservation, women empowerment, widow empowerment, one child education, caring, like whatnot. Recently, we have been into COVID and COVID livelihoods, different kinds of support systems for communities, or especially privileged. Second vertical, what we have is capacity building, much focus on capacity building of different developmental organizations, where we call it as CDDP, which is PDDC, People Development Training Center. And the third vertical you can see in my background key, this is the campus. We have it in Hyderabad, where we call this as Balvikasa International Center, where we focus on two things. One is responsible business, second one is social enterprise. So this session is under the vertical of social enterprises and social entrepreneurship. Within social entrepreneurship, we work in different things. Incubation and capacity building are the major things we are working at. So this is all about my organization. So let's welcome Ranjan Mistry again and Rahul. Thanks for hosting this session, Rahul. So please, Emily, the floor is yours, Rahul.
Hi, welcome all. Today we have Mr. Ranjan Mistry. I think he is a social entrepreneur from Bihar. He's quite young. I was going through his website. He was born in 1996, the year in which I entered into my graduation. So I completed, and then I entered into the graduation. So young, and that's why at such a young age he has been able to achieve so many things. So it is a pleasure to have you here, Ranjan. I'll let him do the talking, but I'll just tell you some of his achievements which are noteworthy and which are tremendous when we see the background or when we see the state that he comes from. So he is a serial social entrepreneur from Bihar. Now, we have known Bihar as the state which is in the news for all the wrong reasons. And he is coming from that kind of background. So just imagine the kind of motivation, the kind of capabilities, the kind of attitude that he has to talk or to lead the initiatives in entrepreneurial ecosystem establishment from a state which does not have a lot to offer as of now. And I hope that he does a lot of those things even in his home state. He was the founding board member of Patna University Incubation Hub in 2019. And the Patna University Incubation Hub is the first incubation center come entrepreneurship cell in any university in Bihar. So that's the first. He is the one to do the breakthroughs. Other than that, he has been also nominated for Forbes Asia 30 under 30. He went up to the semi-final stage. He has been passionate in establishing and promoting entrepreneurial ecosystem in Bihar, especially among in the rural areas. And his next mission is to create and make 100 entrepreneurs from rural India, from rural Bihar. He also has a number of startups to his credit: Campus Varta, Medishala, Ridek. I will not talk about them. I will request Ranjan to talk about them, to give you some insights on what goes on and what he is up to, what is he doing. He's a very prominent speaker. He shares his thoughts. He's open to share his learning. He's open to share his views. And today, after his introduction, we'll talk on several issues pertaining to social entrepreneurship ecosystem. So thank you, Ranjan. We are really honored to have you here sharing your insights, sharing your knowledge with us and with the participants. So I would now like to request you to talk a little bit about your ventures, about your philosophy, about your motivations before we go on to the more specific or structured questions.
Okay. So basically, I'm 25 years old. This is going as a 25-year-old, and have been working in this field of social entrepreneurship, not exactly in social entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship. I have been working for last 15 years with in the when I have started, I was in standard 6 at the age of 10. So I don't have any idea about entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship, just doing things that I can add some values in the ecosystem or in schools or villages or something like that. So in 2012, I came to know about entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship when I get in touch with Irfan Alam and Sashank as well. Irfan Alam is one of the renowned social entrepreneur from Bihar. His story is Kerala state government has added his story in the chapter academic books of standard 12. So I am mostly inspired from him that he is doing something for Bihar. So after that, I have been working for advocating entrepreneurship in Bihar. So more people, more youths and people like us came into entrepreneurship. So my first work for education and plantation drives on the special events like Independence Day, Republic Day, and so on. After that, I came up with another ventures known as Campus Varta. It's India's first it's India's first edtech media that connects rural school, college, and university across India. We are working in more than 22 states of India, and have been connected to more than 100 plus universities and 22,000 colleges and schools approx. We have been partnered with several Bollywood movies as to reach the information and inspiration from movies to the rural students. So Campus Varta is like that. After that, we have a Women's School of Entrepreneurship. It will educate women to about entrepreneurship. It has three programs: Entrepreneurship, Entrepreneurship, and Entrepreneurship. It will divide it as a class as a reason wise. It will be divided as in a reason form. that if we are educating women from
Ranjan,
rural
sorry, Ranjan. Can you keep your mic a little closer?
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, Women's School of Entrepreneurship is a which came into existence in 2019 and have done more than a pilot project on this for the last 4 years. So it will all about fueling entrepreneurial leadership spirit in last mile girls and women. So it has three programs: Entrepreneurship for school-going girls, Entrepreneurship for women's college-going girls and women, and Entrepreneurship for rural women. And it will deliver entire entrepreneurship curriculum in vernacular language, in physical modes. So most of the one of the challenging in India that people from rural India didn't understand English, even Hindi as well. They mostly, for example, in Bihar, we have more than 5 to 7 languages. If we enter in the Mithila region, they can't understand Hindi, even leave about English. They can't understand Hindi. If you are going to talk with them in Hindi, they can't understand it. So how you will teach them entrepreneurship or business, which were mostly cited and written in English languages. Most of the Indian institutions have been following the foreign books and written papers and such, but they are entirely useless in rural India. So we came up with a Women's School of Entrepreneurship, which will deliver entire course curriculum in their vernacular language, multiple vernacular language as Mathli, Magahi, and in the local language entirely. So that is the Women's School of Entrepreneurship. Another venture is Medishala. Medishala is basically work in rural Bihar, that they will provide doctor appointment, doctor consultation, and digital consultation. That no one need to visit Patna for their medical assistance or medical treatments. They will directly work in rural market. That's it. And we have been associated with several as the advisory board member as a Bihar Mahila Udyog Sangh. It's one of the leading organization in Bihar which work with women mostly. So I have been serving there as an advisory board member from last 5 years, and I'm responsible to indulge youth in Bihar Mahila Udyog Sangh. So, and another organization where I am serving as a advisory board member is Navastit Foundation, which have been working for a decade in Bihar on menstrual health and hygiene. At the time of that time, when people known Bihar is known for as a Bimari state or something like that, there is a caste system discrimination and use. So at that moment, we have been working on menstrual health and hygiene in Bihar. So we have, that's it.
That's not it. That's only a little bit. And there's a lot of it. It just happens. So fantastic. I think so many things. I don't know why, how do you find the time? So before I ask you your schedule, just tell me. So what are the motivations for you? So what kind of, see all of these issues that you were saying, traditionally, the traditional mind, the traditional development. So they think of something on the lines of a development organization or an NGO, right? Now,
Yeah.
picking up the sensitive issues, picking up the issues which no one is talking about, and apparently, they are the issues because there's no money to be made out of it. Therefore, they are still lingering on. Mobile or everything that makes money has already reached the rural India, right? But these are the issues that do not come into the business forum because they're not profitable. So how or what motivated you to find out these solutions in an entrepreneurial mode, when the easier way could have been to go through the more conventional or the more traditional NGO approach?
Most important thing is the problem statement. What kind of problem you are looking forward, and what kind of people you are living with them. So if whenever you are coming to social entrepreneurs or talking about something social issues, then it directly comes to the problem statement. So it relatively connected with what kind of people you are living with. For example, I'm living with people in Gaya and something in a part of Bihar. So they are facing treatment. People have been died due to medical, non-medical assistance in villages. So that will inspire, and somehow they give the strength that we came with Medishalas, which will work there. Similarly, we work with women in rural Bihar who doesn't have any economical background, so they have been looking for something earning for that. Anything for their livelihood. So we came up with the Women School of Entrepreneurship and something like that. When we enter in the school and we figure out that there is a girl and a woman who have been suffering from illness and something like that due to their menstrual health, then we came up with Navastit Foundation and something like that. So most importantly, the first is the problem statement, second is the trust. When we started working, some people trust on you and some people don't trust on you. So that is the motivation that we are working in the social sector as well.
Okay. So again, just to continue on that line of questioning. So you said yes, at some point in time, the problem statement will define the solution that you're looking for, and therefore, and the solution, there can be no single best solution. At most, you can have different solutions tackling or taking care of a particular issue, maybe jointly, collectively, or covering different dimensions. So how do you define social entrepreneurship? Let's say, even if the problem statement, as just imagine a situation that if a problem statement is to educate or empower girls or empower women. Now in that case, if how do you define social entrepreneurship versus a traditional model? So what defines social entrepreneurship? What is the definition? I think we'll all be I'm still struggling with the definition. So how do you define social entrepreneurship?
It's something a little bit tricky, as well as people have already defined it as per their work. For example, William Bratton has already defined that. Muhammad Yunus has already defined that. But I believe that social impact, simple solution with maximum impact, with economical approach. That's institution or that's skills or something like that. That's way that will make a simple solution with maximum impact with economical aspects. That will generate some revenues and make a much more larger impact with simple solution. For example, if we don't have a toilet in the schools, so there are some boys in somewhere and they are using their tap to make it a toilet. So that's a very simple solution. But there are a lot of simple solutions which have a maximum impact. For example, the safety pin. Safety pin is one of the best examples that we are using on people wearing a lot of safety pin, using safety pin. That's simple solution for larger impact. There are a lot of things. So I believe simple solution with maximum impact with economical aspects.
Okay. So in it's a very measured and very mature definition. So just want to understand, has there been any particular personality who has inspired you, or is there a role model, or is there an organization? I mean, it could be person or an organization or anyone. Is there some inspiration behind?
Yeah. Most of people don't know about Irfan Alam. As I have already told you, I have been working with him, as he has been working as he is one of my mentor who always suggests me and something like that. He is one of the pioneer social entrepreneur from Bihar. In 2007, when Eric Rice had written the Lean Startup Methodology book, I hope all of you have heard about Lean Startup Methodology book written by Eric Rice. So in the year 2010, Eric Rice has mentioned his name, Irfan Alam, when he defined social type of entrepreneurship in US in 2010. So he has mentioned Irfan Alam as one. He has taken example of Irfan Alam from India, and somehow he is so simple, and that's inspired me a lot in 2012. After that, in 2014, 15, I met a girl named Farouza Farman, who came to take admission in Magat Mahila College at Patna University, and accidentally his father died in road accident on the same day. And after that, after 3 years, he has been working with multiple organizations in Bihar, so, several NGOs, startups, and so on. So somehow she has given me a message that there is a worse situation and condition and circumstances, but you have to fight for that, and you must work for that. So somehow Farouza Farman has inspired me a lot at that moment. Whenever we broke, mostly in startup and social entrepreneurship, when we broke, her story inspired me a lot. That gave me a kind of energy that she will do.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so Ranjan, it'll be interesting to understand how and what were your experiences when you were trying to set up the Patna University Incubation Hub. Why, why, what were the challenges, and then what was so missing that it became the first of its kind initiative in entire Bihar?
So basically, there is an organization, BA Bihar Entrepreneur Association, founded by Kauslendra and Abhishek Singh. He is one of our mentor as well. So he visited the Chief Minister of Bihar in 2014 and requested to bring the Bihar startup policy. In 2015, Chief Minister has given permission them to draft the Bihar startup policy. In 2016, they have drafted and launched it. In 2017, they have launched it. And more than 15 incubation center, 15 to 16 incubation center has been came into existence in Bihar after that policy, with that policy in Bihar. And most of these incubation center exist in prominent institution, and mostly in the capital of the Bihar. But whenever I go through a villages or some part of the other district of Bihar and colleges, student didn't aware about e-sale, entrepreneurship sell, and I mostly feel that when you are talking about ecosystem or innovation or something like that, then it will directly come from a rural ecosystem or normal students which study in a Patna University or simple colleges like that. So I started working on that. I have drafted a proposal and visited the Patna University and several and rest 7 universities of Bihar. So we have been working with conversation with several stakeholders in Bihar. But most of the, as Patna University is one of the oldest university in India, seventh oldest university in India. So stakeholder of Bihar from several senior IAS officer, and they told me that it doesn't work here, and they will not. It's a very rigid system that Patna University fees will be coming. PhD student who has been admitted in 2000 in 1995 1996 in my date of birth, they get their money in a scholarship fees in 2019. So that will be so rigid. You can't be able to do that. So I have been done more than 750 meetings in a year, from a student to student union to professor to HOD to pro VC to VC, and I'm I'm responsible for make them aware that entrepreneurship or incubation center is important for development in the state. So I mostly believe to rather than developing incubation center, I mostly believe to make them understandable that what is incubation and what is entrepreneurship. How will they will impact in long run after 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. How you will do that. So I have done more than one 750 meetings in a year in just a Patna University, and the rest 7 university are different.
Too big a task, but needs to be done. Yeah. So having said that, how do you see incubation alone? See, incubation is a combination or culmination of so many other stakeholders. A good incubation program essentially means that there are good mentors, there are good investors, there are good trainers, there is good infrastructure, there are laws. So all of these go towards making in a good and vibrant incubation ecosystem. More so if you are particularly focusing on one segment of incubation which is still poorly understood and poorly executed, called social entrepreneurship. So in terms of the ecosystem players, how do you see the Patna, or for that matter the Bihar ecosystem? How do you see them evolving? How are the other ecosystem players reacting to what is going on? Where did you find the mentors? Where did you find the investors? So what has been the journey? Or is it all import from other Indian states, or there are local resources? So how is all this thing tying up?
So after 2016, with the existence of came into existence of Bihar startup policy, Bihar startup ecosystem has already grown, and so we have several ventures came into existence, which has set up a landmark in India. For example, Dehat, founded by Shashank, is
Yeah.
one of the number one agri-tech, largest agri-tech startups in India. So somehow there is another venture, Arya Cab, and Medishala is already doing that. So it has been grown. And most importantly, mentors, when we are talking about mentors, so when I put effort in the ecosystem for 4 years, so there are a lot of people who has migrated from Bihar in different countries and different state of India. So they get connected with me after putting down my potentials, my effort in the developing ecosystem. So they will come and they will provide mentorship as well to the startups ecosystems.
Okay. What has been the role of government? So how actively, or other than obviously coming out with the startup policy, what other incentives, or what other things are in place in Bihar from the government side?
So government is providing prior to 2020, they are providing 10 lakh of seed fund to every startup in 3 tranches. 2.5 lakh first tranche, and second tranche is 5 lakh, and after that 2.5 lakh. And they are providing spaces as well, so, to the startups for encouraging them. Also, they have initiated a lot of programs under Jivika SPP program, Startup Entrepreneurship programs, and under Jivika they have do a lot of work in Bihar, in a rural part of Bihar. You have seen a lot of women working under these programs. They have microfinance in them. They have trained them in agriculture sectors. As we already know, everyone knew that Bihar is known for agriculture sectors. So they have their own products. They have been selling their products. So the government has done a lot. They make it more easier for us, but we have been some lag, as Bihar is there is some rigid things already exist that exist in every government, so that will be part of the ecosystem.
Okay. So just now, because we are comparing and we don't want to put you in a difficult position, but if you think, or if you know, so what kind of startup ecosystem, or which Indian city or state startup ecosystem you would want to be replicated in Bihar, if there is anything like that?
I don't want to replicate any kind of startup ecosystem in Bihar. I want to develop newly ecosystem in Bihar, which are mostly basic on the region, and they will develop on the region and the ecosystem and the culture. So I don't want to replicate it. I want to develop something new. If I will try to replicate the Bangalore startup ecosystem or Delhi startup ecosystem, it doesn't work here. We have, for example, I will give you some example here. There is a lot of startup who has raised fund in Bangalore, huge fund, more than 100 crores or 200 crores. But they are actively working in Bangalore, but they are not able to capture the market in Bihar. It's entirely different thing. Even for example, in 2018, I have contacted with I have been in touch with the Paytm founder Vijay Sharma for capturing the market in Bihar, and they have put down their VPs, vice president, and so on to capture the market. But they didn't understand that the entire market of Bihar is totally different. They are not technology friendly. They are something like that. They have their own mindset and something like that. So Bihar is something. Bihar, Jharkhand, northeast part is entirely different. Each state is entirely different. So we have to develop with their own resources and something like new.
Okay, this is interesting because see, now we are talking about the role of technology in entrepreneurship. So India is, India is a bright example of what a technology-driven entrepreneurship can do to the country, do to the dreams of youngsters. From the society which was only after the government jobs, the medical, the engineering, the bank, and then Bihar. I studied in Delhi University, and then every person from the Bihar wanted to come and do the UPSC, and they did also. At some point in time,
One
the
of the myth
major
is that
so
one of the myth is that you have heard about an academy founder. They have left their IS job for establishing that. But in Bihar, the myth is that in out of the state, the myth is that if someone has founded a company, and they have raised around 2,000 crore as well. So they will definitely leave for the they will leave left the company and do a UPSC. That is something myth also exists in out of Bihar, and
okay.
somehow investor didn't want to invest in a startup belongs to Bihar.
Hmm. Okay. So anyhow, I think those are myths, as you rightly said. But what I'm trying to say is that the technology-driven entrepreneurship, or the role of technology, has catapulted India into one of the biggest startup ecosystems in the world. So we are now ranked after US and China in terms of the size, in terms of the number, and in terms of the funding. And there are some latest reports, I don't know how reliable they are, but in the last quarter, it seems that the funding that has gone into Indian startups has been higher than the funding that has gone into the Chinese startups for the same quarter, so the same period. I still need to check the veracity of that data, but that's how it looks like. So you said that Bihar, Bihar still has limited acceptance of technology, whereas what we are seeing is that even in social entrepreneurship, the role of technology is immense. In fact, I think some of the next webinars that we'll do on social entrepreneurship and incubation would be talk about the role of latest technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning and blockchain in social entrepreneurship. So how they can how they will change the development focus, how they will change this focus of social entrepreneurs, how they will impact and amplify the work of social entrepreneurs. So what, according to you, if you think that okay, Bihar is still accepting or still finding its feet when it comes to the technology acceptance, how important do you think the technology is in terms of social entrepreneurship development in Bihar?
Uh, Technology is just as a work as a tool while we are in entrepreneurship or in a startup or a social entrepreneurship. So we need to educate the people first. For example, when most of my ventures like Women's School of Entrepreneurship and Medishala and Navasthi Foundation are already working with technology as well. They have their technology. We have been using technology, but we need on the same day we need to educate them. So people are not aware. People didn't have see the computer system, computer laptop still now in Bihar and most part of the rural Bihar. So they didn't have seen a computer or a smartphone as well. I have visited several villages and several part of Bihar who never saw any kind of equipment, technological equipment. So we need to educate them first. When we bring technology, we also need to educate them. So, and of course, technology will work and they will give a mileage to entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship as well. And it will, for example, people who have been working in the education domain during COVID, they have been working through technology as well for delivering their courses and organizes their classes from US, Canada, and India as well. So in rural part of India and Bihar as well. So technology is something which accelerate and mm, growth of social entrepreneurship or an enterprise directly. It will directly grow you from 10 to 100x. They will directly multiply you your impact as well. But on the same time, you need to educate the people that how you will use this technology.
Okay, interesting. So tell us something, Ranjan. Now that we're talking about technology, now we're talking about ecosystem. You have seen a lot of startups. You have seen a lot of budding entrepreneurs in your journey while establishing and while training the entrepreneurs in Bihar, right? Is there any particular idea or any particular innovation that took your fancy and then you really like it, that you think is a a real game changer? It may not be a technology, it may be a simple innovation, for example, in terms of the approach or in terms of the business model or in terms of the process or in terms of the usage or whatever. So any innovation that you have seen, or it can be more than one, you just want to talk about that showcases how people they see the idea, or the ideas can be generated, the ideas can be really powerful. It's the other matter that okay, not everyone will be able to execute and turn those ideas around into profitable ventures. But any particular idea, any particular innovation that you really like?
I mostly I have Medishala is one of those startups in Bihar which has a huge impact, and their approach is something different, and they have been working in rural part of Bihar. So we have basically I'm part of this Medishala as an advisory board committee member. So these are these Medishala founders came from a engineering background. These four friends have been from mechanical and civil background. So they have started working from their college days from BIT Patna, and they have approached it. Their approach is something different in rural Bihar. So there is a company Practo, and there are huge competitor in India. So they have raised a lot of funds, and they have their huge burning, but they are not able to penetrate the rural market. But Medisala has done that. Medisala has developed the ecosystem in Bihar that does supply chain management and providing doctors as well. So their ventures, their approach is something incredible, which I think they will impact entire Bihar in upcoming 5 to 10 years.
Okay. And
And
so
most
what?
importantly,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
most
please carry on.
importantly, while I have been visited villages, and whenever there is a people, and any people is ill or need a medical treatment, they directly reach out to the medical shop of local medical doctors or a local shop. And if they didn't treat them, then they will directly ask them where I need to go for a treatment, and they will recommend to the doctor's name that you will go to the Patna or something like that, and they will come. Someone from their family, they will travel from Madhubani to Patna, and they will stay in Patna, and then they will get a doctor appointment, and after that they will bring them to Patna, and they will get the treatment. In all this process, they will invest at least 5,000 rupees as well from traveling to appointment. So we have bring the technology, and we put our application to the local medical shops and local medical doctors, that you will directly take appointment from of doctors. So people are not aware about technology in village. They are not able to use our technology, but doctors, medical shops and doctors, we have trained the doctors and we have trained the medical shops, and they will directly impact the rural peoples, and they will save more than 5,000 rupees, which are extra cost for their medical assistance. So that's how Medishala and entire technology has been working in rural market.
Interesting. In fact, Practo, they may have similar kind of business model, but Practo is never focused on rural India anyways. They were more on the urban India.
Urban
But
areas.
yeah, so I think that
Basically,
way it's a
rural market
fundamentally
is
different.
something tricky.
Yeah. So
Rural market is entirely a little bit
different.
tricky.
Yeah.
But doesn't Patna come under urban India?
No, we have been working in the entire Bihar.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So, Ranjan, specifically, I want to understand more about funding, because funding, as of date, a lot of the success or the majority of success of a startup is celebrated through funding. I haven't seen many startups which are talking about we have had the 1 millionth customer or we had 1,000th customer, but then if there's a funding of Series A or pre-Series A or Series B, C, E, D, whatever it is, then that becomes the news. In fact, that's the only news that is being celebrated, or we are celebrating funding. So how has the funding scene been in Bihar, in your own startups, or in general? Other than that, you talked about the funding from the government side, but in your startups, how difficult or easy the funding has been, or what's the scenario there?
Till now, we have not raised any funding from any investor, or we have not trying to raise money. We mostly believe in bootstraps, and we mostly believe in generating revenues from the customers. That will be something which we need to work rather than running behind funding. So when we have a customer, we must generate revenue. That after funding is required when we are expanding the things, the huge capital required. But if you don't have a revenue model or something like that, then you never exist in the market for a long run. For example, there are a lot of startup in India and US as well. They have raised huge amounts, but after 1 year they have shut down because they don't have their revenue models, and they are not able to generate revenue, and somehow some investor has back from their investment. So mostly believe in bootstrap and generating revenue from our own revenue models.
Okay. So
For examples,
yeah.
For example, that in Navastit Foundation, we have been generating revenue from selling pads. We are also creating sanitary pads at minimum cost. We are providing sanitary pad at ₹5 in a school, college, and university, and the railway station, airport, from airport as well. In Medishala, we have selling packages or packages to the doctors and something to them. We are not charging the directly to the patients. We are charging to the directly. We are charging to the doctors who are generating revenues from there on. So we have specific revenue models for every ventures, and I believe that everyone need to at least make one revenue source, revenue streams in their ventures, rather than raising funds or taking donations. If you are taking a donation, that we mostly whenever we discuss about social entrepreneurship, most people think that it's a kind of social work. But most of people think that social entrepreneurs is all about the social work, but it doesn't run like that. It's entirely a revenue model. Huge impact, minimum revenue. That's the entire concept of social entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. So even if you define the problem correctly, you can still have so many solutions. And therefore, if you are tackling the social issues, people generally tend to go to the or associate it with the traditional social service models
Social.
or the traditional NGO model. So that's something that we as the fans of social entrepreneurship should work hard to shed that kind of a tag from social entrepreneurship. Okay, so Ranjan, I think we are Vijender, how are we doing on time?
Yeah, we are okay with the time. Like we can be
Okay,
open.
so can I ask
for-
one more question?
Yes,
Which is
yes.
on gender equality. So I know that you have started the women entrepreneurship initiative in terms of by setting up women school of entrepreneurship, and then you talked about Kanya entrepreneurship, and then herpreneurship, and the last one I forgot the name, but it was for the rural women, right?
Entrepreneurship.
Sorry,
Entrepreneurship.
entrepreneurship. Okay, so apart from this, are you seeing a lot of women entering the entrepreneurial segment, or it is still a completely distorted or a single or dominated by men?
Let me give you two example here. Jivika, one of the government organization which are BRLPS, has been working in Bihar, and they have around 10 lakh SSG in Bihar. It's one of the highest SSG in Bihar in India, and in approx they have around 10 crore with them, and each of them out of these 10,000 women, each of them has some kind of entrepreneurial work. They have some kind of social business, little business enterprises, and they have been working on that. So they have been working there. So women participation is huge, but we need to educate them as well. So that's why we came up with Women's School of Entrepreneurship. In Indian institutions like TIS, Tata Institute of Social Science, and IIM IRMA, they have directly copied content from US and London as well. Social entrepreneurship, they have directly bring the Yunus, Professor Muhammad Yunus books and Nicholas books, and whenever they tout to the student that social entrepreneurship techniques and subjects like that. And whenever these students, after passing out from these colleges from IIM and TIS, whenever they came into the field, they find out that they are not relevant to the Indian ecosystem. So what is the aim of Women's School of Entrepreneurship? We are trying to design entrepreneurship curriculum as per Indian context. We don't have the research. We don't have books written in Indian context. That is a major issue which are exist in India. We need to redefine entrepreneurship curriculum in Indian context. For example, IIM has been teaching the supply chain management of written by Mr. Chopra back in the year 2012 or 2010. But in the recent 6 months, entire supply chain management has changed. And student which has completed their master program MBA from IIM Ahmedabad or something like that. Whenever they came into the field, the entire scenario changed. So they are unable to mm, their education and the context of the field, they are entirely unmatched. So we need to redefine entrepreneurship curriculum in Indian context by a research, by a book, by a something like that, by an event or something like that. So that's why we have came up with Women School of Entrepreneurship with an aim to educate more women, and most precisely in vernacular language. Most of the cases, case studies, books, and everything will be written in English language. That will not work for a student like who hail from Bihar, who are who has their vernacular who has vernacular languages. For Gujarat, for a student from Gujarat, who student from Telangana, student from West Bengal, so they have their own language. So we need to redefine these entrepreneurship curriculum in their languages, so they can understand it better. And we need to figure out and written up cases on existing Indian founders, Indian social entrepreneur, or Indian social entrepreneur and founders and social enterprises that they will work in Indian context. So more entrepreneur or youth will come and they will directly apply it how Indian context is going on.
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant point. But then
We missed you.
there's also the cultural reason behind where we entrepreneurship, or we talk about the founders, or we talk about, you're saying something.
Yeah, I mean, like there was a break, voice break in between.
Okay.
From my side or from Ranjan's
Yeah,
side?
your side, your side.
My side. Okay.
So you can repeat the question.
I'll fix the voice. No, I was not. I was not asking the question. I was just, based on what Ranjan has said, I was saying that's a very relevant point, and that's required, because that's a real problem. If we do not make knowledge accessible to each and everyone, we are still doing the thing that the earlier generations did by controlling the access to knowledge. So if we keep everything in English, and if we don't create the local, or we don't do the localization of the content, we will still make it accessible to only few privileged ones who can understand that content. So very important point. But there are two things here which I would in my experience as well. See, one is the content itself. So whatever the language, we still do not have a lot of founders, or forget about the founders. In India, the founders are new, but even the old ones, for example, the companies which have been operating in India, or the earlier industrial groups, their owners, they have been shying away from publishing. So even in management education, which is largely case based, even the management education, we are using the US and UK and European case studies. We still have not come to a situation where we use the Indian case studies to teach our management students. So this is one problem. And the second problem is, so whether vernacular or English, there's nothing available. And second is what you have identified, that even if something is available, that is again in a language which is not understood by all. So maybe maybe a food for thought for all of us. Do something. A big problem is also a big opportunity. That's the entrepreneurial way of looking at things, right? Yeah. So I think with that perspective, I'm opening up this opportunity, business opportunity, to all our participants, to see if they want to do something in this, and then come up with some ideas and take it forward. But Ranjan, thank you so much. We have to respect the time. We have already, as per the time, we have already overshot by 10 minutes. So I'll not take much of your time, but I'll request you that at any time, if you are in Hyderabad, please find out some time and then just let's catch up and see if we can do something together. There are a few ideas that we have in mind, and maybe you will also find them interesting, and we can see what we can do to amplify and then make this social entrepreneurship ecosystem even bigger and better. So with that, I'll open up the Q&A session. If any of our attendees, any of our participants in this webinar has any questions to ask, please feel free to ask.
Just unmute yourself and please do ask.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Am I
Hello.
audible? Yeah.
Yes. You are.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session, Ranjanji. And the questions or the discussion sought by Rahulji was like very prompting, I think. So I have one, not a question, just a discussion point here that I am Vipul Napum. I am a disaster management professional. I visited Bihar so many times, especially Sifar, Sitamarhi, East Champaran, West Champaran, Muzaffarpur. These 5 districts were my fieldwork area for disaster management planning 2-3 years back, right? So I have done extensive fieldwork there. My question is like, actually, I have also recently registered for my PhD in one of the university in Gujarat, Gandhinagar. My question is like, is Bihar is already prone to so many natural disasters, especially floods, right? And these entrepreneurships during its startup phase only, there are higher chances that they encounter similar disasters where their particular the growth plan may get hampered in the initial phase itself, right? So I just want to know, like, how have you imbibed these principles of sustainability and resiliency into the this entrepreneurial system overall?
Can you repeat?
My question is like we want to have our entrepreneurships a sustainable model, right? Its sustainability is very important, especially in the startup phase. And there are so many natural disasters that especially Bihar is facing. So, like, is there any principles of disaster management or resiliency have you put in the these enterprises? Like, how will you run your enterprise if entire area or your system got disrupted due to floods or like recently COVID-19? So are they making any effort to sustain or run their entrepreneurships in this difficult time?
As we have already during COVID, we have already entire startup has shut down, and entire offices have shut down. So we have been working there. Most of the startups we have supported them, and they have alive back as well. And during floods, most of the eastern, northeastern part of Bihar is flooded. So at that moment, we mostly believe we work together rather than working independently. So at that moment, we mostly work together with helping each others and so on.
Okay. Thank you.
So if anybody else wanted to ask any question, please unmute and do the question. So meanwhile, I'll just share this poll with you guys. We just wanted to understand how is this going on. So there is a screen you can see. So you just respond to that question so that we'll get this feedback and will incorporate your feedback into the next session. So if
I wanted
yes,
to know which the organization which is organizing this event.
Balavika sir,
Okay. So is it based out of Bihar?
based out of Hyderabad,
Okay.
Warangal based. Our headquarters is Warangal and current campus is at Hyderabad.
So you are like a incubation center, something like that.
So we are multilateral institution. We are also into incubation, and then we do kind of capacity building programs for stakeholders.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was my question.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, that's all, I guess. So if nobody has any question, I have one question for you, Ranjan.
Yeah, sure.
So you've been to, I mean, like different startup ecosystems, and like have been somewhere you're acting like a catalyst in your Bihar incubation ecosystem or startup ecosystem. So how do you feel like the entire startups? I mean, like, are they up to mark, or like are they only interested in funding? What are that bottlenecks you see in a startup generally, like commonly in a startup? Like, do they understand? It's not every time like funding is the biggest hurdle. Lot of people say, but like startups do have something. So investors do also have some issues with startups. Like they don't understand investors' perspective. Startups don't understand investor don't understand startup, or like this kind of thing. So the most common bottleneck you see across ecosystem, what is that? And like, can you put a little some light on that?
So a little bit tricky. Basically, startups are something which are not definite. We can't define it that. So I believe that revenue is the major part. That how you're generating revenues and that. So while you are pitching or something like that, so revenue is the important thing. How you are generating revenues and how much you are generating. If you have the customers that doesn't work for you, who are not paying you, so revenue who are paying for you, that is the important thing.
Okay. So you say that like revenue is the key of everything in the start, not just. Thank you, Ranjan.
Also, I have one question related to the Medi Shala startup, which you mentioned, Ranjan. So, uh, like Rahul sir said that there are already industry leaders in it, like Recto, which is currently leading the industry. So as soon as you educate the people there, as soon they can handle the technology on their own, they can book appointments on their own. Then what these practo guys will do, they'll shoot out better offers to those people who have, yeah.
So we have been basically penetrating the rural market is a little bit tricky, and it doesn't work for especially basically personal attachment is in rural market. Personal attachment or while you are doing a business is all about personal attachment, that how you are with connection with the local peoples. So it's not too easy for Practo or other startups who are offering to the in the rural market. It's too easy in the cities like Patna and Darbhanga and so on. But if you are talking about rural market, it's entirely different, and no one can very easily penetrate. Even if you go through a lot of companies in India, So there are companies who are too old, like Parle-G and Dabur and so on. So they
Yes.
have penetrated the entire India, but not most of the startups who came into existence in the recent years have penetrated the market, rural market especially, because trust is one of the important factors which directly connected with the rural market, and it's entirely connected with the personal level. At personal level, for example, we have bring our first digital centers and second digital centers in Samastipur and in rural part of Bihar. It directly work with the personal connections. It doesn't
Okay.
that like that we put someone, we hire someone and directly put down the clinic and something like that, it will work, people will come and trust you. It doesn't work. And if we have been working in the medical domain, it's entirely different. They didn't trust on the people, they will directly work on the references. If someone doctor who is not famous in Patna, but still your family or someone has referred you, you will leave the, you will left the famous doctor in Patna and you will go to that doctor. That's how
Yes,
medical
yes, yes.
system works.
Yes, you are correct. But then also, what if these industry leaders, for example, Practo, I mean, you have signed some bonds with the doctors which you have registered on your app, Medishala. So,
Yeah,
what if they buy those doctors?
can you repeat?
They What if they break your agreement and they go with that another app Practo because that is giving them better
There
offer?
is no there is no nothing exists like that. They will onboard it on Practo, they will onboard it on other application as well. There is nothing like that.
Okay, 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 okay. Thank you.
Thank, thank you, Vishal. Uh, I mean, this is the last. I mean, we are here in the last of this session. So, thank you for all participants and being your not so active, but like the participation. Every time we actually end up having many questions and we don't find time to actually get into the questions more and more, like more questions, and we generally get back to them through mails and all. So, however, it is very happy to see you, at least few participants. And Ranjan, a special thanks to you and your sharing your experiences with us. Rahul, thank you so much. Yes, and yeah, this is all. Hope all of you shared your feedback through poll. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vijender. Thank you, Ranjan. Thank you all.